Hi GMO-free Idahoans. Today Jenny and I are out in
Wilder,
Homedale Wilder.
Sunnyslope area?
Yeah, with Steve Silva. And we came to see his chickens. He raises organic chickens and also sells non-GMO chicken feed. And so Sunnyslope Poultry, right?
That's correct.
And we can find your information. Do you have a website?
I do. The website is actually at www.getlostoffroad.com.
Okay.
And then there's another page on there for Sunnyslope Poultry.
Okay.
It's a subsidiary page.
And you often do Craigslist ads, correct?
Craigslist ads, Nampa Farmers Market, and Idaho's Bounty.
Okay. He does sell through Idaho's Bounty, and then he also did a CSA this year.
Correct.
And so you'll probably do that again next year, I assume?
Yeah, I'll start taking or advertising, probably even later this summer, I'll start taking applications for shares.
Okay. Great. So I do just want to ask really quick, because you do specify non-GMO feed, and we get asked all the time if we know who has non-GMO feed. And so you're really trying to drive that consumer market and provide that. When did you first hear about the term GMO and become aware of the dangers of GMOs?
I read Michael Pollan's book, The Omnivore's Dilemma. And that I was just stunned. I actually read it twice. I read it through and then I started back over again. And I just was really fit to be tied. And so then I started trying to research the feed aspect of it and really had no luck here locally. And I finally got a contact through through networking. I finally found an individual who is going out of his way. I can't imagine trying to locate and contract out all of the components to make a true feed ration that you can actually, analyze and substantiate. And he's doing it here in a little town and selling it out and going out of his way to do it. So I'm trying to support him as much as I can.
Oh, that's awesome.
I want to ask on that, when you switched to non-GMO feed, did you notice a taste difference for the chickens, or was it not really noticeable?
I don't know, because the taste difference I noticed was the different breeds.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. I don't have enough. I haven't eaten enough yet to tell the difference yet.
Okay. Well, what's funny is we notice that you have your neighbor's chickens out here, and they come around and peck at your,
where I spill field from all the troughs.
So,
yeah. Oh yeah.
And there's research that shows that the animals, when given the choice, prefer the non-GMO.
Interesting. Yeah, they're over here all the time. It really is funny.
Oh, that's crazy.
Huh.
And then we did go look at your cages and everything, and you follow Joel Salatin's methods.
Yep, Joel Salatin. Is it Salatin? Salatin? I don't remember.
I say both, Salatin,
Yeah,
Salatin.
But yeah, when I started this, I thought, I wanted to know how to do it, and everything I read up on pointed back to him. And then when he started going on about pasture grazing the chickens, I'm looking out my window and I'm going, I've got all this pasture just sitting here. It's like, this is the real logical course. And then once I did it, the proof's in the pudding. When you watch what it does to your pasture and you see how it works, you're just like, this is ingenious. It's the right thing to do.
And then you see how happy your chickens are, and then you taste those chickens,
taste is phenomenal.
And
and the chickens are also, again, to coin his phrase, they're chickens. They act like chickens. They don't. Even the industry birds, the Cornish cross. If you walk out into my pens and look, those chickens are running around. They're chasing each other. They're jumping up in the air, butting into each other. That's not how an industry chicken behaves, and yet it's the same exact breed. It's the habitat and the environment that makes it different. And so if you treat a chicken like a chicken, they'll act like a chicken.
Well, and you were just telling me, so an industry chicken goes to butcher in 5 weeks, right?
Yeah, 5 weeks.
And how long does it take your chickens to go to butcher?
If it was a perfect world, 8 weeks. And that's using the genetics from the industry to my advantage. But what I'm learning is that if I lower my density per square foot and let my chickens go from 4 to 9 days longer, I reap a more consistent result and a higher quality. So it takes a little longer, a little less, a little more time, a little less density, and you get a really beautiful benchmark product.
Would you talk again about the cost per chicken versus?
Yeah, a chicken in this type of environment will eat, you're using a 3-pound bird as your market weight benchmark. So that means when it's all said and done, and in the frozen package, it's going to be 3-pound chicken, a whole chicken. That would be your minimum, is what you're looking for. Each chicken, to gain 1 pound of weight, will eat between 2 and 4 pounds of feed. So to get a 3-pound chicken, my birds are going to eat 12 pounds, sometimes as much. If the weather's cold early in the season, they might eat 16 pounds of feed per chicken to get to a 3-pound market weight. And then you have the cost of the actual chicken, which is really expensive because you're having eggs or baby birds flown halfway across the United States to get them, because all of the breeders and the brooding houses are back east. And then you have a very high cost of processing because of the government stipulations, and specifically because of the regulations with how you sell them after you process them. So you've got a really high cost and a high intense labor, so it makes it really difficult.
But we were also talking about this, the payoff costs a lot. It's a little more labor intensive, and it takes longer. But you look at the end result, you're buying chickens from your neighbor's backyard that were fed non-GMO feed. They taste great, and they were treated right.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah, you know where they're coming from.
It's worth the extra buck, if you ask me. Anything else? Anything you want to add?
I think, if I had anything to say, to impress upon people that good food isn't cheap. That's really, really important to understand. You can't get, this isn't a value meal. It's not on the, it's not the 99-cent meal plan or whatever. Good food isn't cheap, and you recognize it when you eat it. So,
And our hope is that if enough people start eating this good food, the cost will go down.
Sure. I mean, it'd be nice to have economies of scale in our industry as well, but we don't have it yet. We just keep pushing on it, but we don't have it yet.
And we can only get it by everybody's participation.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just if if the Treasure Valley bought locally, just even with our small numbers, it would make a huge impact.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, I'd have to take our farmland over here and turn it into a chicken ranch, so that wouldn't have enough room here.
Totally. So if you're looking for organic chickens
turkeys.
And turkeys, yes, that's right, you're doing turkeys
this will be our first year for turkeys.
And non-GMO feed, then give Steve a call.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
Cool.
I haven't been out to see what's been blowing around. This is my brooder.
Oh, chickies.
This is where chickens come from. I get them at 1 day old, and then they stay in here for 3 weeks until they pretty much feather out. These birds go out next Tuesday or Thursday. Thursday or next Tuesday at the latest. And what's really interesting is that, I'm hoping there's no dead bodies when I raise this. They're really notorious for crushing each other.
It's the circle of life, right?
Yeah. This box right here, this is a brooder from an article I read from 1942.
Really?
And I sold my $200 brooder and built this. It's been better ever since.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
And the premise is that there's 2 lights in there that are heat lamps, and you let the chickens decide when they're hot and they're cold instead of the humans deciding if it's warm enough or cold enough. So it works awesome. So I'll have as many as 200 birds in here at a time.
Oh wow.
Yeah, there's only 70 or 80 right now. Yeah, that's about right,
cool.
70 or 80. And then I can take, see, like all this is still boarded up because of the colder weather. I start to undo things as it gets warmer through the summer, and then I can open these vents up, and so I can help regulate that as well too.
Nice.
And then I have, right now things are crazy. I have 5 different pens of birds right now that I'm moving through the pasture. 6, those are our layers for the family. But the way these work, see, these birds just came out last week. this is actually an emergency pen that I just put together because I'm running out of room because I have so many birds. And I have three breeds this year. Yeah, everything from 8 weeks old down to 3 weeks old, right? Or 8 weeks to 3 weeks. And these are Cornish cross. I have three different versions, 3 different breeds right now. These are Cornish cross. These are naked necks or Turkins.
Turkins. Oh, they do have naked necks.
Yeah.
Hi, ladies.
These ones here are 5 weeks.
Yeah, they get big fast.
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
So I guess the industry doesn't think they get big fast enough, huh?
Yeah. And the way this works is that, let's walk over to this one.
So you just literally drag these just around?
The wind's been blowing, my wind's blown off. See these wheels right here?
Oh, okay.
These birds are 7 to 8 weeks. Next week they go to butcher. So these ones are pretty close to being ready. You see how big they are.
Oh, you got one white one back there.
Yeah, there's a black one too. There's a couple of strange colors.
Oh
in
yeah,
these.
there is. Huh.
Oh, I see. And so, how old are they again, you said?
These are just almost 8 weeks, right at 8 weeks, so about another week they'll be ready.
Well, that is fast.
So here's how I move my birds. I have this axle that I built, and then all of my cages I have these brackets.
Mm-hmm.
And all I do is take the axle up to the pen.
Ah,
Too smart.
handyman.
Then you go to the front, and you lift here, and it just rolls.
And they'll just move with you?
Yeah, they just walk forward. And see, like I move every morning, and if you look, it's really amazing. This is the part that amazed me. Yesterday, this is the square where the pen was.
Mm-hmm.
And the day before, by the time you get back 5 or 6 days, you can't even tell where they've been.
Right.
And so that's why they're fertilizing your pasture, but they're not destroying it. They're actually enhancing it the whole time.
Right.
So you can't even tell that I've already had 170 birds go to process, and I've got another 150 or 60 here, and you can't even tell that I've rode through this pasture for the last 2 months.
So I'm just thinking that your costs are going to be pretty low.
I wish.
You wish?
With the
feed.
But not taking the feed in,
We'll look in here real quick.
not taking the feed into account.
You saw the feed troughs in here, right?
Right.
So there's 2 feed troughs right here,
Mm-hmm.
and an automatic water. And I built these waters. They have nipples here.
Mm-hmm.
See how if you touch them, the water drips out,
Mm-hmm.
and the birds just peck at them, and the water drops into their mouths. So there's no waste, and it also keeps it really clean.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just put a bucket on the outside. This is just Joel Salton's done all this. I just changed it around a little to fit my pasture. And so they'll go through 5 gallons a day of water, 40 birds. But each bird is going to eat 12 or 14 pounds of feed to get up to a 4-pound market weight.
Uh-huh.
So they're eating a substantial amount of feed. On a day like right now with the birds, I'm going through 50 or 60 pounds, 70 pounds of feed a day.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
So.
And it's
So-
GMO free.
And it's non-GMO feed. Come on here, I'll show you. I'm kind of get out of the. Now this is different here. Here's some different birds.
Oh.
These are red rangers, those little ones. So I've got a handful of naked necks still in there. And then I have these red rangers that are feathering out and coming in too. And this was kind of a new thing I did because I was running out of pens, and I had to take advantage of when I can get birds. And so I put the little ones in with the big ones, which sometimes can be a not smart idea, but they seem to handle it okay. So a lot of times the big birds will kill the little birds.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you end up with more birds than you were kind of prepared for?
I was trying to take advantage of what was available at the hatcheries.
Oh.
And I was trying to take advantage of stuffing my pens because I'm way behind in terms of production. I'm sold out and people are yelling for more birds, and so I'm trying to really fill the pipeline.
Right.
My daughter graduated from college, and so I
had everything processed ahead of that, so I wouldn't have a bunch of birds like this when we left for 3 or 4 days. And I didn't realize that hole in my schedule would come back and bite me the way it really did.
So you said people are screaming for more
Yeah,
now.
I'm a supplier for Idaho's Bounty, and I was supplying one of the restaurants in Boise, and they ran me out of inventory, and they're still wanting birds, and now I don't have them, so someone else will step in and start supplying them. So, like any other business, you don't want to run out of goods.
I was wondering if you meant individual people who are
not yet. I'm supposed to be at the Nampa Farmers Market, and I haven't been able to go yet because I haven't had any birds to sell. So it's been 3 weeks waiting on that, and I still have another 2 weeks before I'll be able to get down there, so I'm missing a big portion of the season. But I'm also really filling my pipeline, because once the birds and the brooder from there come out next week, then I'll put another 80 or 120 or even 160 birds back in the brooder, and then I'll keep running them out, because I can only get birds for another 3 weeks. So, and then we're done. Yeah, the neighbors' chickens, what they like to do is they come over here because when I'm feeding, there's extra feed laying around, so they love it. So yeah, so this is how I go through feed.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll go through, there'll be 300 pounds in a barrel like this. These are 50-pound bags. And I'll empty a barrel in just a couple 2 or 3 days, 4 days, the whole barrel will be gone. It's just crazy.
So you were telling me a little bit about how you even came to locate GMO-free chicken feed.
Right, when I started with Idaho's Bounty, you know, as I was learning about it, there was, you know, a lot of emphasis on organic, a lot of emphasis on just being healthy. And so I was like, okay, so the feed I was using locally was a quote-unquote an industrial feed, but it was actually mixed locally, and they didn't have any there was no steroids or hormones in it, and they used oregano, which is a homeopathic remedy based off of oregano, as an immune booster, which is a great thing, and so it worked really well. But it was not a non-GMO feed, and it was not an organic feed. So there are a lot of people who are immediately put off by that. And so I put out feelers and started asking, and had the people at Idaho's Bounty help me, you know, with any contacts they had, and I found and was put in touch with a contact up in Weiser, and he advertised that he had a non-GMO feed that he mixed himself. And so I found, it took me to, like, you know, all last season to get to that point. And so this winter I got in touch with him, and he said he was still going to have it this following spring, this next season. So I got in touch with him, and so I went up there, and I have another ton back here of layer mix, because I started selling it as well. Because I would tell people where it's at, but no one wanted to drive up there to buy it. And so I said, you know, I asked him if I could, well, can I sell some down here? He goes, sure, go ahead. So I've been helping people down here, because I invariably I get asked.
Well, especially because the backyard chicken movement is kind of going strong right now, and people are looking for this.
And so yeah, he has to mix it every time. I have to call him and give him a week or so advance notice, and then he actually mixes it. Like this stuff I picked up last week, these 2 tons here, he was literally bagging it and stitching it when I got up there. So, and it's nice because it looks like feed. You can actually recognize stuff in there. There's peas, there's corn, there's grain, you know. It's not like some of the stuff you see that's just crumbles and you kind of wonder what it is. You know, it's its own entity. It's this gray, neutral colored, regardless of what they say it is, just look at it.
Right.
So it's different. So this is actually pretty nice.
Yeah, because doesn't commercial chicken scratch have like the remains of dead chickens and whatnot?
Yeah, and
who knows what,
I've got a guaranteed analysis, you know, on there, so it's pretty awesome.
Non-GMO
Meat builder.
meat builder.
Yeah.
That's awesome that that's even available.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Well, like most things, we're finding a lot of people ask us where they can get GMO-free chicken feed.
In fact, that's going to be a topic of conversation. We're meeting at with Treasure Valley Food Coalition, and on the agenda is to talk about GMO-free chicken feed.
Right.
And where people could get that. That's actually on the agenda for our meeting on Tuesday.
You know, and so what I've had to do, and I kind of knew this when I started this, all I was going to do was raise some chickens for my family, you know, to eat, because we already had raised pigs, and we have layers. We've had layers for 10 or 15 years, and it's like, okay, so I'll raise up some chickens, and then because I'm such a knothead, and I was like, I can't do anything, you know, the short way. I've got to have bigger than, you know. I said,
okay, well let's raise an extra 20 or 30. I'll sell some. It'll pay for some of the feed. Well, I placed one Craigslist ad, and my phone rang off the hook, and I sold 300 chickens.
Yeah.
I thought I would raise 50, and it was over 300 by the time that season was done. This year I'm looking at about 600, and I'd like to get up to 1,000 next year.
Wow.
And then the second thing we did this year we did a couple of things. I learned a ton last year because I had a lot of up and down results last year. I had chickens that were processed and they were scrawny and small. I had some that were monsters. I had everything in between. I didn't have any real continuity, really any consistency. And so I learned some things about the size of the cages, how the cages work, the density of the animals in the cage, what to feed, how to feed, just little things. I learned a ton last year. And so this year I've had much more consistency, except with my production schedule, but I knew that was going to happen. And also last year, in the middle of the summer, I brought in some turkeys for our family, just because I wanted to see how that would work. Because you get mixed messages from the industry and from what you read from people who do things. If you go in and buy a turkey, they're going to want you to purchase 28% feed, which is incredibly expensive. But yet everything I read up on turkeys is like, throw them in with your chickens and be done with it. And I'm like, so who do you believe? So I was like, well,
Did you do it then?
Let's try it, yeah. So here's what I did. I hedged my bets. I only bought 2 turkeys because I just wanted one. We named one Thanksgiving and one Christmas. And I had a fancy galvanized brooder like you see in the hatcheries. It was all thermostatically controlled, all the fancy drawers that slide out to keep it clean, the whole bit. And I parked it in here, and I put the 2 turkeys in there for about a week or 2 because everybody told me how sensitive they are and how delicate and all this. I'm like, okay. So they did fine for a week or so, and then I was like, okay, this is dumb. I'm tired of cleaning up after them. So I put them in the brooder with 200 other chicks, and there was no problem. And so from that point on, they went with the chicks, and when they went out into the pasture, they went with the chickens out in the pasture, and in one of those Salton pens out there. And when the last chickens were processed, the 2 turkeys just stayed in the pen, and I just kept moving it around the pasture every day, and they thrived. And at 15 weeks, I had them butchered, and they were both 16-pound birds.
Wow.
And I was like, okay.
I've heard they're very dumb creatures.
They are, but they're incredibly endearing.
Yeah.
They talk to you, and they cluck at you, and they love it when you come out and talk to them, and but yeah, they're really dumb as posts. So, like, for example, I was reading, and then I thought that I was reading, oh wow, they need, what's it called, not scratch, but they need rocks and stuff for their gizzard. And here I am running around a grass pasture, there's really no rocks. So I was like, well, let's see what happens. So I went out into the driveway and just got a couple big shovelfuls of road mix, and I just poured it in the pen, and those turkeys ate the whole pile in like 2 or 3 days. They ate the whole pile of rocks and dirt, and I thought, okay, they really are dumb as posts. So.
Yummy.
Yeah, and I know that the farm that I get my meat from, they've sold out of turkeys.
Right.
For 2 years now. In fact, they started taking reservations now. Because they sell out.
And that's so. The second thing I learned with the turkeys is that we need to offer turkeys, because I saw coming into the fall, I went online to Idaho's Bounty to see how they were doing their turkeys, and it was the same thing. Everyone was sold out. It was all reserved, pre-ordered, and they were done.
And so for you, is it mostly restaurants that are selling
for the
you
turkeys?
out, or is it for chickens, or are you having a lot of individuals?
I'm having a lot of individuals. I am the second big thing besides turkeys that I did this year was that I did my own CSA.
Right on.
I advertised in November, December, January, February, and I basically said, if you full share and half shares. And if you order now, it was a substantial break in price. Basically, I wouldn't make any money, but I would get volume, which is what I needed.
Right.
And so I had a half a dozen families sign up, and I cut it off March 31st. No other shares after March 31st. So we delivered over 100 chickens to the CSA people in the first part of May. and they'll have turkeys as well coming in November.
So just chickens, you're not talking about doing vegetable CSA?
No,
just
no.
chickens.
Yeah, I thought about that whole pasture I just planted a year ago. That used to be mostly garden that I did. And I thought about doing the produce aspect and selling, but one of the issues, and this is what really impresses me about people that are successful with it, is that when you have a garden, you have to be an expert in so many things, like 30 different varieties of produce.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, my hat's off to them. That's all I can do to keep up with them chickens and turkeys. But that's what I decided. I'm going to stick with the chickens, do a single type of product. And then expand out into the feed was kind of I stumbled into it. So first was chickens, then chickens and turkeys, and now the feed. I don't want to do eggs. There's plenty of people doing eggs.
Not non-GMO eggs though.
Yeah, I guess that's true too. I guess I could help. Yeah, I don't know, but there's another. When you have layers, then you have to worry about birds through the winter. So you have a downtime where you still have costs.
Right.
So it's really difficult.
Right.
So, but. Yeah, so we're going to do, our turkeys will start coming in mid-July. Beginning to mid-July is when I'll bring in turkeys. And I'm not going to let my turkeys get huge. I tell them I just don't want a 30-pound turkey. I don't see any reason for that. And so with being short on product and on inventory, it's been difficult because I haven't been able to get out to the farmer's market. I really need to. I haven't been able to fill the rest of my orders at Idaho's Bounty. And I haven't put out any ads for my local clients that just buy off the farm.
Right.
So once this next batch goes to process, and then I start the rest of the production, and then it's like every 2 weeks I have more inventory, and I'll start to really stock the freezer. Yeah. And I'm hoping to have as many as 3 or even 300, maybe even 400 birds in the freezer by September, so that I can get through the winter.
Wow. So when you sell them, you sell. Explain how the CSA works, because
CSA works where I offer. So this year a full share was 40 birds and 2 turkeys, and I think it was like $700, $695 or something like that. And half of the cost of that, $350, was due when you placed your share order, and the other half is due when you receive your birds, your chickens. So sometime in the winter I'd receive this money, which allows me in February, which is when I get birds, in February I can go out and purchase feed and birds with cash in hand.
And you know exactly how many you need to fulfill those orders.